Hello. How are you all today? So, as the remaining crowd is perplexed over Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito case, and everyone is starved for information about what was in the notebook, how did Brian Laundrie um, die, I thought I'd do a psychic reading. So, I have my tarot cards, but I'm also going to try to channel the spirit of Brian Laundrie. So, information will hopefully download and come through because I feel pretty strong connection with spirit today. Since for weeks and weeks and weeks before Brian Laundrie was found, I kept hearing Gabby Petito, Gabby Petito, Gabby Petito over and over again in my head. And I had done a TikTok video on it, and I had said that before Brian Laundrie was found, I had said something about being in a swamp. Um, so I was accurate on that information that came through. I also said that I felt like it was in a wooded area. I wasn't sure if he was deceased or alive, though. So that was kind of just all based on everything else that everybody else was thinking. The masses of people thinking he was still alive, Dog the bounty hunter, looking for him. The strange behavior by his parents, remaining quiet, not even speaking at all. The Mustang, just so many things around this case are so strange. And then the parents walking right to the area and finding Brian in the reservation when before it was covered with wet flooding. And so I'm going to do a psychic reading. And first of all, I thought I would download to you what I heard Spirit say this morning before I got on this YouTube video. So I heard Brian Laundrie in spirit say something about either having a ring on her finger or putting a ring on her finger. I'm not sure if the ring on her finger had something to do with something that Brian Laundrie gave her, but I do feel like it appeared to have flowers on it. It appeared to be silver in color, possibly, and I was downloading this information. So then, what I heard my spirit guide say is blind study. Meaning that they're trying to study all the forensic bones and everything, and they're not getting anything, too significant or too, because it's going to be hard to determine if it was suicide or something else happened to him, he drowned, they're just very hard to get the information out of the bones. So I feel like I'm not going to predict what the outcome is going to be. I'm just going to say what I feel from spirit happening. And I'm actually going to try to channel into the spirit of Brian Laundrie. So when I say a prayer, I go into my energy first and I say a prayer. Mother, Father, God, thank you for using me as a channel of your love and light. Angels surround us now. All spirits present surround us now. Thank you for giving me insight for Brian Laundrie in spirit. I need to hear from him. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing that I heard my spirit guides say was forgiveness. That he really was begging for forgiveness in his mind. He was begging for, please God, forgive me. And I do feel like he was drinking. I do feel like he was under the influence of alcohol when he hurt Gabby Petito. I do feel like after he sobered up, he realized and was horrified what he had done, that he had strangled her. And it was kind of just like I'm in a fit of rage. I'm angry at you. We're in a fight. I'm choking you. She's, laying there being choked. But, I feel like he just went further. And that was when that happened, that she passed. When he came to his senses, he realized that he was horrified by this tragic, what he feels, quote unquote, was an accidental murder. So he knew everything that was ahead of him. So his mind said, stay silent, stay silent. So I keep hearing this from spirit. Stay silent, which the parents too, stay silent. Okay, I wanna listen to what else I heard from Spirit, because they said something about the autopsy, and he said something about his chest. So when Brian Laundrie was deceased, something happened with his chest area. And they in Spirit, Brian Laundrie said they'll slaughter him in the media, meaning that just, the media will take over, just slaughter him. In his mind, he was feeling like he was innocent, but he did have mental, emotional things. He flew off the handle, he said, in rages, and it drove him crazy. She drove him crazy, it's saying. And Brian Laundrie is, I feel like he's telling me this in Spirit because he wants everyone to know what he was thinking in the spirit world now that he's passed. So he said right. Meaning that he decided to write. He decided to write about it in the notebook. Okay, and I'm going to actually do the cards, the tarot cards, to help me to decipher what he decided to write in the notebook. I'm not making light of what Brian Laundrie did at all to Gabby Petito. She is totally a victim that should have been, that they should have. Sorry, I dropped a card. Gabby Petito was a murder in slow motion because the body cam from the police, obviously, he made her out to be the perpetrator in the domestic violence situation. Gabby Petito felt guilt. She felt she was in the wrong that day when they did the police body cam. And she was not, and she was an innocent victim of his anger and aggression. And he made her feel about this big with low self-esteem by the time she was suffocated at the end of her life. So he definitely is narcissistic, abusive, felon. He called himself a felon. He knew he was going to get a felony. He knew he was going to have to go to jail for a really long time. He knew he would suffer in jail. So he's talking about wrote in the notebook. He wrote in the notebook. Okay, so what they said was he wrote about the fun times, but he admitted that he was a villain. This is what I heard Spirit say, that he admitted in the notebook that he was a villain. He said narcolepsy. He's going to try to say in the notebook that he suffers from narcolepsy. I've heard it twice say he's going to try to be comforted in his own mind's mind of himself that he's innocent. He feels that he's innocent. Still, after he goes to the spirit world, he feels in some way some form of innocence. He was very remorseful after Gabby had passed. He wrote in the notebook something about how beautiful she was, what a beautiful soul she was. She's an angel. He said something in the notebook about she's an angel, because I'm hearing Spirit say it. And I'm going to look into the cards to see if he committed suicide, because I feel very strong that he committed suicide, and I want to know how he did it. So I'm going to show you the cards that I pull. Okay, so right away I get the Devil card. Okay. The Devil card is that they were definitely addicted to each other. Okay. This was like a love addiction. Gabby was addicted to Brian, and Brian was addicted to Gabby, and they could not get away from each other. They had somewhat of a love addiction to each other, and that is not healthy. Not being able to be compatible as friends, but more being able to be compatible as lovers, but terrible, terrible things went wrong when you have your partner as an addictive, they're like a drug to you. Okay. This happens in many domestic violence situations. The Tower card is showing me something about falling off the crown of loyalty. That could mean many things. That could mean that he maybe suspected Gabby was not loyal to him, but I feel like that was crazy because he shouldn't have suspected that at all. And the Emperor card is about authority and a father figure. So and I just heard in my ear, I'm clairaudient, I heard justice. He does want justice for Gabby now. In the spirit world, he wants justice for Gabby, just as much as the whole world wants justice for Gabby. But they're showing me the father had a lot to do with it. And as I touch into this card, the Emperor card always means the father. He had a controlling father. His father was abusive to Brian growing up. Okay, so it wasn't the painted childhood at all. Okay, here's I'm trying to see in the cards if he committed suicide. And I was hoping to get the Hangman card. Okay, this card shows me a family with money, family money. That Brian's family had more money than they appeared to have. This card shows me the swamp, more or less. It's like someone on a boat or near water has a lot of strife because the swords represent strife. Somebody taking somebody somewhere on a boat, but it could just mean on a journey surrounded by water, which makes sense where Brian Laundrie was found. He was surrounded by water. He was cold. This is him, and this is the swords feeling strife. Okay, and it's weird because the spirit just said hammer on his neck. Hammer on his neck. But what's weird is where would the hammer be then? Why didn't they find a hammer? So I don't know what they meant by that, but some force, how he passed was around his neck or near his neck area, or hitting his neck with something very hard. Okay. And this, okay, 1 second. And this card here that I pulled was justice. Again, the scales of justice. Justice will be served for Gabby Petito somehow, some way. There will still be able to be justice. The Page of Swords represents Brian. Carrying a lot of strife, a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt, because here's the swords with strife, carrying a huge amount of guilt. Sorry. I just heard a spirit say sorry. I wanted to channel Gabby, but this session was purely to channel Brian in spirit, because we have to know the results of what's in the notebook and things like that, and how he killed himself. I'm going to do another spread because I didn't feel yet that I was able to discern through the cards if he committed suicide or not, or how he passed. But strange that they said hammer on the neck. And then they said later. Okay, I just heard now from Spirit, took his own life. I just did hear Spirit talk to me really strong. Took his own life. Slice. I heard slice. But how would he slice if there's no knives found in the scene of the area where his body was found? That's what makes me wonder if I'm hearing this correctly, because I get confused sometimes. This card shows me, excuse me, that there was definitely an animal. And see here, this card is about sunflowers again. See, here's the sunflowers in the cards. This feels like Gabby. On the other side, happy. The sun card is one of the best tarot cards in the deck. She's very happy now. On the other side, here's the sunflowers. That could represent, again, the ring on her finger. And was it an engagement ring? Not sure, from Brian Laundrie. And here is, and also I could perceive this card as animals were happy. So meaning, could the animals could have eaten all Brian Laundrie's flesh, so it made the animals happy that day. Okay, because here we have an animal on the card, not a horse, of course, but I do feel like it had to do with turtles, possibly turtles, or alligators, but I'm not sure. They didn't tell me an animal yet that took the rest of Brian's flesh so that they could only find bones. Hi for all of you who are joining me. Hi, Donald Simmons. How are you? I'm probably just going to just go with what the cards, and then I'll look at the comments, but I'm almost finished here. So the devil card, it definitely means that something really evil, really sinister, which is probably just something really sinister got hold of Brian in his mind. Pure evil kind of encapsulated him the night or day of the murder. The magician card is just that he manifested that he was definitely not going to have to go to jail. This was his ability to say, nope, not going to go that route. I'm going to do it this way. He did miss Gabby Petito once she was deceased. He felt a lot of grief and forlorn, but he is admitting, he said he killed her. So I do feel like, to wrap it up with this reading, I feel like they are definitely showing me that he killed himself, I feel. And his grief and admittance was written in the notebook, I do feel, or something to that extent, that he felt guilt, that he felt guilt that he loved Gabby Petito. He was in love with her, and something just took over him, something horrible. So and this was the card of, this card represents a couple that she was kind of the one leading the way, and he was very almost handicapped with just not being emotionally equipped to deal with life very well. She was definitely the one that was more equipped to deal with things, and she was leading the way, and he was just had a lot of mental, emotional disabilities. If it would have turned out that he was alive, you never know, what could have happened to him, but he didn't wait around for that, because, all we needed was an admission of guilt, but, could it have went that they would have locked him up in a psych ward or something because he was just so suicidal himself that he was going to be in a psych ward, and kept claiming that maybe it was accidental. Um, I don't know how the law would have looked at that, but he kind of felt in his mind that the law would have looked at it and sent him to jail for a felony. So he was just like, no, I cannot do this. I cannot go to jail. Um, the Queen of Cups is definitely representing Gabby Petito with the blonde-haired female, and holding a golden chalice, and stones are at her feet, jewels and gems are at her feet. She lived her life exactly how she wanted to live it. The mountains are in the background. um, she felt like a queen of her world, and a lot of angels trying to help her and protect her, but you know they just want to let you know the spirits keep saying forgive, forgive. And she's going to be elevated to a saint in the spirit world because she's going to be a role model for so many other women and so many other police officers, also law enforcement, how they view um, the woman as the victim, and how they'll learn a lot of lessons from this, that they shouldn't have viewed her as the perpetrator, that they should have viewed her as the victim. And this is typical of domestic violence, that she felt guilt, but he tried to blame her for the scratches that he had on her. Scratches, or she was trying to defend herself in the body cam video. So this looks like her father, because this card was together, and I do feel like her father and her mother are going to be able to feel justice. They are going to feel justice. Even though Brian Laundrie did not go to jail, they're somehow going to be able to feel justice, whether it's like a foundation for Gabby Petito in her name or something like that. So I was just going to say that, Shelley Agua, that he was like Chris Watts. And I do feel very strongly in my mind that it came into his mind a lot about Chris Watts, that Brian Laundrie was fully aware of Chris Watts, and he compared himself to Chris Watts in his mind. So I do feel that, because I downloaded that this morning. I kept thinking of that over and over and over again. So I feel like it was Brian Laundrie's spirit that was telling me that he compared himself a lot to Chris Watts, and knew exactly what happened to Chris Watts, and knew how many people slammed Chris Watts and said, you're an idiot, you're a fool, you didn't have to do it this way. So he just keeps saying over and over again, he's a felon, he's a felon, he's a felon. Okay, so he's admitting guilt in spirit. Yes, I'm going to take some private questions after I finish this. I'm almost finished talking about it. And vultures or seagulls? Yeah, possibly. He probably sliced his neck and then hid the weapon. Well, it would be hard to hide a weapon, but yeah, maybe, because you would think that they would find it. Maybe the hammer could mean his thyroid was affected. Did he have any thyroid issues? Yeah, maybe. Recent interview with a man who said he spoke to Brian on the Appalachian Trail. That's when I knew you were onto something in your last reading. Okay, yeah, it's just, my last reading was all over the place, and somebody said that because after they found his body in that area, I thought to myself, oh well, that one TikTok video that I did say he was in a swamp. So I was more accurate on that video than any of the other videos, because I don't know why I felt that he was on a boat on his way to Cuba. That was just like totally off the wall. But somebody mentioned sometimes all the minds of the masses can make you intuitively download and pick up what they're thinking about Brian rather than what I'm really thinking about Brian, because so many people thought he took a boat somewhere. So okay. Okay, I'm going to take one question today, and then I'm going to get off of here because I think his parents did know, Shelley. I totally think his parents knew. I think that his parents questioned him, knew something was seriously, seriously wrong, and that's why their lawyer told them to stay quiet. Because I feel that his parents probably told Brian that he needed to turn himself in, and maybe he told his parents he was going to, but he wanted to go for a nature walk first before he turned himself in because he wanted to think about it. And I think his parents really thought that he wouldn't do that to himself, wouldn't disappear and harm himself. So then they started to get worried and wondered where he was, but they were again supposed to be quiet and not say anything because the lawyer told them to be quiet. But like I said, I do feel like his father was very narcissistic, abusive man already. So this is kind of why Brian had this type of temper, was because of his father, I feel like his mother put up with it all those years and just stayed in the marriage, because she loved her husband. But I felt like he was very controlling, narcissistic, abusive father. And so was Brian. And Brian didn't start to realize this about himself until he killed Gabby. And, rest in peace, Gabby Petito, and justice for Gabby. Justice is served through the admittance of guilt. I do feel like there is, I feel like it's going to waver on the Notebook, though. Like it's going to hem and haw in the admittance of guilt, but he's admitting guilt in the spirit world to me. And we'll see what the Notebook says. So his sister Connie did an interview with our local New York City news outlet. She seemed extremely suspicious. Yeah. I'm sure they all knew something was seriously wrong with Brian, after he came back without Gabby. So, and weird, I heard the name Hutchins just now, Hutchins. So I don't know who, is that anybody's spirit here today? Hutchins, Hutchins. I did hear that come in. So maybe a spirit's here. Let me know. No, but you know what? They said Laundrie knew him. So this could be a friend or something of his that he had. Maybe when he was in school, but I know he was a person that was a loner. I've been following this case. So I just wanted to do one more clarification of reading, but it definitely appeared in the cards that he committed suicide. So my mom thinks Brian's parents aren't saying anything because they're guilty too. That what they're guilty of is letting their son go away from the home when he should have stayed there and he should have turned himself in. So they totally probably knew that he did it, that he murdered Gabby, but they probably didn't know right away what to do. And then he took off. They waited on it for a little while before they were ready to call the law enforcement and admit his guilt. And while they were waiting, Brian took off. So that's what I feel happened. I feel like they have a lot of remorse, the parents, for not handling it the right way. And that's why they stayed silent, because they were hemming and hawing, waiting around to figure out what to do. Like a day or two went by, and then they just didn't feel comfortable yet, until their son was ready to come forward to the law enforcement. But by then he had already took off on the trail. So I do feel like it was out of their control. I don't feel like they helped their son, aiding and abetting or anything like that. I mean, this is more, I have more clarity now because of everything, over with, sort of, where I was like totally in the dark before, when I was trying to do a cold read on it and I had nothing to go off of at all. So it's a little bit easier now, of course, to do a reading on it. Yeah, they neglected the course of justice. Yes, you're correct, Donald. So I like that picture on there. What is that picture? Is that you on the picture? It's so small I can't see it. Okay, so who wants to ask a question now? I'm done talking about Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. I just want to have closure on this case. I'm going to be doing a couple more missing person cases, probably the one of the little girl. I can't think of her name right now, but I might do a video on that. We'll see. I notice all these other people that are, I don't know if I'm tagging these videos wrong or what, but I feel like I need to figure out like a better way to do my videos. If I put some pictures up, that would be good, but it's really difficult for me because I'm not that computer savvy. So it's you? Oh, okay. You took the picture. All right. Does anybody have a question they want to ask me? We got everything pretty much out of the woodwork as far as what I needed to say and finish up saying about the Brian Laundrie case. The day they found Brian's remains, the police found 9 other missing people. I heard about that too. I heard a lot of missing people, but I just don't feel that Brian had anything to do with those missing people. I just don't. I just feel like he was just angry, very angry, in a fit of rage. In domestic violence or angry situations where a couple is very angry at their partner, they can go right for the throat, just, I'm so mad at you. But they know when to stop too, and he just didn't stop in time. Cleo Smith. Who's Cleo Smith? We may have a spirit in our living room. We recorded some creepy stuff like things moving in the kitchen at night. Is there a chance the cards can tell if it's nice or evil? Okay, relaxation. Yes. Meditation. Is the spirit in their living room good or evil? I feel like you've been struggling in the home financially, because I got the card of financial struggle. It's in the reverse. I feel like you've also had some strife in your life recently and a lot of change going on in the household. Change is this card here. You're feeling kind of like you haven't been able to meet your goals in your life. I mean, definitely with this card, this is the death card, so there is a spirit. I scratched out the word death on the cards so that my clients wouldn't get scared when they saw that, but I feel that let's put it this way. I feel good spirits and 1 bad spirit. So I feel like 2 good spirits, one evil spirit. Okay. Oh, the little missing girl. Okay. Yeah, she has a different name than that. I can't think of it right now. Rashmi Rayo, you missed a lot. You'd have to play over the video again. The reading is for relaxing and meditation animations. She said she had a spirit in her living room, and she recorded some creepy stuff like moving in the kitchen at night. So I do feel like mostly good spirits, but maybe 1 negative energy because of all the negativity things that you've been going through. Okay, what you can do to get rid of the evil spirit. I get rid of evil spirits in the home. But how I do it is I cast a circle with the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And I walk around the circle clockwise 3 times, put all the elements in the circle, a bowl of water in the west, earth object in the north like a stone, feather in the east, and fire in the south. So, and then you create a hole or vortex or opening in the home, and then you just, put some crystals inside the middle, and you ask the spirits to go into that circle, and then they can just go to the other porthole of the light. So that's how I get rid of them. And it's worked on a couple of clients' homes that I've done. So I've gotten rid of negativity and evil. I do feel like if our mind thinks about evil a lot, though, we're going to create evil to come to us anyway. So just keep your thoughts really positive, keep your words really positive around it, and stop giving it a lot of power. Because sometimes if you give something too much power, you also create it to shapeshift that way. So, hi, Kiwi Lover. I haven't done a video in a while, so thank you all for being here this morning. Kiwi Lover did a sunflower, which is interesting because this video was about Gabby Petito, and she had sunflowers on her ring. So, okay, great. Relaxing and meditation. You can try that and see if it helps. I just looked it up. It's Cleo Smith. Maybe you're talking about another missing girl. This girl is from Australia. Okay, so this must be a new case. So I'll have to get a feel for that. I'll have to watch some videos on it. Maybe this is the newest missing person case that is big, large. But, the thing is that there are so many people missing in the world. And, some people were upset because they're like, how come certain missing person cases get more attention than others? Well, because this one totally could have been avoided. The Gabby Petito case, the police could have separated them and, put somebody in jail, put Brian in jail. The guy that called in the police, and when they came to the scene that day, in the body cam footage, you can see before that the person was saying he was slapping her, things like that. Well, why was that okay? If the person, the eyewitness saw Brian Laundrie slapping her, then that should have been a sign to the police that he was the perpetrator. She was the victim, but instead they almost made her out to be the victim, and they really did. And, it just wasn't right. Do I feel that the remains they found was really Brian? Yeah, I mean, some people are saying, that the whole thing was staged. I do feel like the remains were really Brian because they found teeth, and that was his dental records. So I do feel like, we have no other reason to believe that it's not Brian Laundrie. We have to believe. But do you believe what you hear in the media? Well, not a lot of people do. A lot of people don't trust what they hear in the media. So, but I don't feel like they were paid actors. Some people's theory is that this was just, Brian and Gabby were just paid actors. The whole thing is made up and staged because to take the minds of the masses off the vaccine thing. But I don't feel that that's the case, because people's minds are still going to be on the vax anyway, the jabs. You're not supposed to say the word vaccine, are you? I don't know. Brian's mom and parents hiding a lot of info, I believe. Well, yeah, they for sure had a lot of info, but I think they were just in a very confused situation of what to do, but it was just very odd that they walked back there and found their son. But, I don't know, it's just a fluke, I guess, that they found their son instead of the FBI and the sniffing dogs. Because the one day I woke up and I heard my spirit guide say diesel camping. And I'm like looking up diesel camping, like camping with a diesel gas engine or something, or, like a contraption that you put diesel fluid and diesel gas. And, could Brian be camping that way? And, I was all confused, like why my spirit guide said that. And I put a video on TikTok about it. But here somebody said Diesel is the cadaver dog. So my spirit guides were very confusing when they said that, but they were trying to say cadaver. I think they were trying to give me a symbolic code word meaning cadaver, meaning Brian Laundrie's a cadaver and he killed himself in the swamp, in the reserves. You watched an interview with a trafficking survivor. She said a lot of people the public presumes as missing are trafficking victims. I wonder how true that is. Very true. Very true. I do believe that. Yes. He must have to face what he's done before he can move on. Yes, absolutely. He's going to have to face it when he goes to the other side. Yes. And Justin G says, I am psychic too. He's alive. Those were not his. Okay. A lot of people still do think he's alive. A lot of other psychic people think he's still alive. There's this lady from another country who was on here as a psychic, and she thinks he's still alive. But how are we going to prove that? You know what I'm saying? Like, even the FBI is going along with the thing that he's deceased and that they found his remains in the dental records in through the teeth. So if it was staged, that would take a lot of money on the family's part to pay the FBI off. And can you even do such a thing? I don't think so, so I don't know. to say that he's alive still, it's a conspiracy theory and nobody will ever be able to prove that unless they see him, out somewhere in public and it's him, but the FBI is stating that these were his bones or his teeth, dental records, that it was him. So using dental records could mean they only had one tooth. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. They could. Yeah. But they did have some bones too. But you're right. They could only prove the dental records for the teeth. So you absolutely are right. Yeah. So, I don't know. This is, you'll have to listen to the reading that I did, prior to this, because I do the reading based on what I've already heard, that they found him deceased and they're claiming he's deceased. But it is just very, very odd, yes, that he walked back there, or that the parents walked back there and found him. So the whole thing is just, so strange. So I'm just really perplexed because I did wake up one day from a nap and heard and felt my spirit guides. It was like a huge feeling came over me of Brian Laundrie was in Cuba. And I'm like, this is before he was found. And I really thought that he was alive. I didn't feel that he was deceased, but I changed my tune then when I heard that he was found dead, Well, they had cameras all at the guest house and all over the parents' house. So they just exposed that now that they had planted a lot of cameras at the parents' house. So, and the sniffing dogs would have been able to find Brian if he was at the house, at the parents' guest house. Some people think his parents have a bunker in his yard. I know. I did hear that theory. It's just that the sniffing dogs would have been able to smell that out because they can smell up to 20 feet underground for a body. So, if he's alive or dead, they can still smell that out. So that was the weird thing is when I woke up that morning and I heard my spirit guide say Diesel camping, meaning cadaver dog was named Diesel on this case. And, I just got so confused then. So canines and cadaver dogs are very intuitive. Well, they really smell out, they're trained to smell through a lot of things. They can smell 20 feet underwater. And Gabby is at peace, and that's what the one card that I held up was showing, that she is happy now on the other side, that she is at peace. She was just going through so much. She was mentally exhausted by the time she lost her life, dealing with Brian and how narcissistic and abusive he was on the road trip together. She was just trying to keep herself together half the time. She was hysterical and just, about probably to leave, him at that point, but it was just really hard. They had like this fatal attraction to each other. They were addicted to each other. That's what the cards showed me over and over again. The cards said they were like a drug to each other. They didn't know how to separate from each other. So that to them felt like love. Yeah, Kiwi Liver, I know. Weird how many bodies they found out where Brian had been. Yeah. I yes, I agree. That is very strange. Gabby was a little psychic too. Yeah, definitely. We all are, we're all intuitive. It's just a matter of what degree we're intuitive and how much we need to be intuitive, you know, about a certain subject matter. So this one beforehand, I was somewhat intuitive and getting some information downloaded accurately because I did a TikTok video that he was in a swamp. So that was probably the only thing I got accurate. But, I heard like he vapes and stuff. And I'm like, what? Brian Laundrie doesn't vape. So I think my spirit guides were talking about somebody else I know that vapes. So I got confused. I thought they were talking about Brian Laundrie. So I took all my videos down because they were so inaccurate. And she's not, right. I'm not making light of anything that Brian did at all. Gabby is the total victim here, and she's totally innocent in this whole thing. And she just was a young girl trying to be in love with her fiance and didn't know that he had such a dark side to him. And she started learning about it more and more on their trip together. So when you're a woman that is in a domestic violence abusive relationship, you don't start to really put two and two together until they really hurt you, and then you decide to get away from them. But unfortunately, the first time that he really really hurt her was he killed her. So she didn't have a chance, but she did have some bruises on her shoulder. I saw that in a video footage of Gabby Petito in some photos that she had, somebody had taken of her. She did have bruises on her back. So he might have done other things to her, but she just didn't feel the need to leave yet. Gun and shoot himself. They probably would have found a gun nearby, though. Animals don't eat guns. They can't. It's metal, so steel, whatever. I don't feel like an animal's going to eat that, but you never know. Maybe they could swallow it up by accident, if it's a big enough, large enough animal. But that would be to the luck of Brian because, then no one would know, we're all stumped about how he killed himself. So. It's so sad how people still don't know the signs of domestic violence in today's generation. I think education can save so many people who are going through that. Yeah, and especially law enforcement should be more trained to see the signs. Those law enforcement people that came that day totally didn't see the signs that she was an accident waiting to happen. She was a murder waiting to happen. I'm sure they're kicking themselves. I'm sure those law enforcement people had no clue, but still too bad. that they couldn't have just separated them for good for a while longer, because she could still be alive today. But we're not going to blame the law enforcement people, because they were just trying to do their job, and they didn't get a feel that Gabby was in danger, I guess. So right, when you were young like Gabby, you were more likely to be manipulated. Yes, and she was very much manipulated. So, and has Gabby forgiven Brian? Yes. Rashmi, yes, because as soon as you go to the other side and you're in the spirit world, all the higher frequencies of love, compassion, forgiveness, joy come into you, and you know no such emotions anymore as lower vibrational emotions, which are hurt, anger, jealousy, greed. All those things are taken away from you, and you only know highest vibrational frequency emotions on the other side. So you're completely elevated in the spirit world to a higher vibrational frequency. So yes, you're looking down on everyone with compassion, forgiveness, love, even, the victims of murder, when they're in the spirit world, they totally forgive their perpetrator. I kept hearing, my spirit keeps saying over and over again, stay silent, meaning I think that it was Brian Laundrie's spirit that's telling me this, is like he just felt like he needed to stay silent. So, he just felt like he couldn't go to the he was scared. He was terrified. And yes, we're all sending Gabby love. If anybody feels guided to, they can light a candle for Gabby Petito, um, for her soul. And yeah, he had a nice guy personality about him, Brian Laundrie. Yes, he was, and then there's a psychopathic other side of his personality that is, purely able to, like you could talk to somebody like him and think that they're totally kind and nice. It's kind of like, other murderers, or serial killers. Sometimes you cannot tell, at all. So, I'm just thinking of, how many people thought that somebody like that was kind and nice, but then, they find out that they're not, and it's just the way it is, this thing takes hold of them. Bipolar, yeah, but bipolar people are not murderers either. Like, the majority of bipolar people are not murderers. So I think he had just two sides of his personality, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and it's just when he got into a fit of anger and rage at Gabby, he just unleashed on her. And this was just, I do feel like it was purely, though, like he didn't really mean to kill her. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he would say if he was alive. I didn't really mean to. It was accidental. Um, I feel like he was drunk. I feel like he was drinking or under the influence of something. That's what my spirit said. That's what the spirit said. He had some beer or something that night or whatever it happened. Oh, thank you, Kiwi Lover. Yeah, it's not really about likes. It's just for me to actually feel closure. It's for me to just talk about it and air my feelings and try to connect with the spirit and try to do the cards on it. So I think it went pretty well. So thank you all for being here. And I'm gonna go because I have a party. I have to do some readings tonight. So love you all. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.